There are few story concepts more ridiculous than a hero who has the power to defeat any villain with a single punch. It instantly conveys the complete and utter absurdity that's central to One Punch Man's comedy, while also just being an undeniably badass idea that hooks its viewers. Despite what you may think, watching our titular man Saitama effortlessly destroy monsters never gets old, because unlike other gag-centered parodies, One Punch Man, in all of its absurd chaos, manages to tell deep, character-driven stories on par with the very best of shonen. Everything about Saitama screams that he doesn't fit in, from his godlike power and simplistic design to his easygoing, casual attitude. Against his ultra-serious companions, he sticks out like a sore thumb, making for some hilarious juxtaposition that places One Punch Man among the very best parodies of the superhero genre. But crucially, while parodies often come across as mean-spirited, One Punch Man clearly holds a tremendous amount of love for the genre, which saves it from being too one-note. One punch, one note, get it? Anyway, some will claim that a parody is mean-spirited by nature, but I think there's a world of difference between something like Kunk on Earth, a hilarious history mockumentary, and The Boys comic, which serves as a thinly veiled hate letter towards superheroes. One cleverly subverts the typical conventions of the genre for comedy, and the other just takes ill-constructed potshots at the source material. I understand that this is a very difficult line to walk, but the rewards for pulling it off are undeniable. A show that understands and respects its source material not only can better subvert your expectations, it can often get away with effectively using the same genre conventions it's making fun of. Incidentally, this is exactly what makes One Punch Man more than initially meets the eye. It manages to strike a very delicate and genuine balance between comedy and the typical themes of the shonen and superhero genres. Somehow, the jokes never take away from the emotion of a scene. Instead, they seamlessly work in tandem. As is the case with Moomin Rider, the Class C hero whose power is being an unlicensed cyclist. It's a joke how weak he is, and a good one at that. But the series' creator, One, makes it very clear that despite his faults, he's every bit the hero Saitama is. When a colossal monster called the Sea King attacks and defeats a number of the world's top fighters, most of the heroes run away. But not Moomin Rider. Instead, he fearlessly charges into battle, and promptly gets his ass kicked. The fight is very comedic because of how anticlimactic the action is, playing much like a typical Saitama fight, except Moomin Rider is hopelessly weak instead of OP. But the tone suddenly becomes much more serious when Moomin Rider refuses to give up. He admits that he's well aware of how weak he is, but nevertheless, he has to try because that's what a hero does, and that's who he is, a true hero. A nearby crowd begins to cheer him on, and the scene plays as the triumphant moment in any shonen story where the hero gets up and gives it one more try. Think of a powerless Deku charging in to save Bakugo. Think of Naruto getting back up to face Kabuto or Gaara that one more time. But of course, in this story, Moomin Rider isn't allowed to win. That's Saitama's job, who soon shows up and demolishes the Sea King. But crucially, none of that takes away from Moomin Rider's bravery in our eyes. While in a more mean-spirited parody, Saitama's strength would almost definitely be used to make fun of how useless the other heroes are by comparison, that's not the case in One Punch Man. At least not totally. We don't laugh at their motivation. We laugh at the absurdity of Saitama's strength, but not at Moomin Rider's expense. Instead, it's made very clear that rather than strength, bravery and perseverance are the true qualities of a hero. When the nearby crowd starts to accuse Moomin Rider of being useless, Saitama even gives him all the credit for defeating the Sea King, because he understands that despite his total lack of strength, Moomin Rider is worthy of our admiration. And this is pretty much how One Punch Man manages to have its cake and eat it too. The series centers around the core themes of shonen, such as bravery, perseverance, and friendship. And every episode, it completely subverts your expectations in the funniest way possible. But in doing so, it never belittles these themes, never makes you feel silly for caring. Even if Moomin Rider is ultimately completely useless, even if Saitama is so ridiculously strong that nobody was ever in any real danger, it doesn't mean Moomin Rider's bravery isn't heroic. One Punch Man works so well because despite the absurdity of its premise, it still holds dear to the core values of the genre. Rather than attempting to tear down the idea of superheroes for cheap jokes, instead chooses to tell legitimately engrossing stories. Tales that, like the best in the superhero genre, inspire courage, perseverance, and altruism in its audience. And then, this in turn makes the contrast with Saitama all the more hilarious. But you're never made to feel stupid for caring about Moomin Rider or any of the other heroes. It's a parody that doesn't use its comedy to subtract from the genre, but rather to add.